We begin this morning with Seth Doane and an unimaginable crime that made headlines around the world. Warning, this is not a story for younger viewers.
I lived for 50 years with Mr. Pelicot, who was a kind man, a devoted family man. It was a beautiful love story, until the day I found myself facing the horror of the facts.
Those facts shattered Gisèle Pelicot's seemingly normal life.
The trial shaking much of Europe.
A trial that's gotten worldwide attention.
A horrifying story of French survivor Gisèle Pelicot.
And it put her at the center of a mass rape trial, an unthinkable crime. It gripped France. But it was her response that would be defining.
I understand this is your first ever interview.
Yes, it's a first. I'm not used to speaking in front of cameras. I used to be a very discreet woman.
It all unraveled in 2020 inside this supermarket, when what seemed like a small crime uncovered a far greater one. Her husband, Dominique Pelicot, was caught taking video up women's skirts. His arrest led to the discovery of disturbing footage taken inside their home of Gisèle Pelicot unconscious. At a local police station, an investigator told her what they'd found.
He said, Mrs. Pelicot, do you recognize yourself in these photos? And I said, no, it's not me. Then he said, this is your bedroom. And I see a woman I don't recognize at all, completely asleep, with a man beside her. I don't know this man. And then he says, I'm going to tell you something shocking. You were raped by 53 individuals. My world collapsed.
You described the woman as looking like a rag doll. That woman was you.
Yes, it was me, but this woman was lifeless. She looked dead.
Do you remember crying, screaming, blocking everything out?
I could not speak. I was in such a state of shock. All I wanted was to go home to get my life back as it was before.
But that life was gone. The man she knew as a loving father to their 3 children and a doting grandfather had been drugging her with sleeping pills and muscle relaxants, then inviting men he met online to abuse her.
We talk about hundreds of rapes over a period of time of at least 10 years.
Wow.
She and her lawyer, Stéphane Bobineau, started to grasp the scale of the crimes as they prepared for trial.
How many videos? How many photos?
Photos, we are in the range of hundreds, if not thousands. And for videos, definitely hundreds.
Among the evidence, messages Dominique Pelicot posted online. I'm looking for a pervert accomplice to abuse my sleeping wife. And text messages. I'm about to dose her. We have to wait at least 1 hour to abuse.
It's been a real journey into the darkness.
What were on those videos?
Scene of torture. There is no other word for that.
You say it's a journey through darkness.
Well, on this video, we see a human being being treated as an object. We see men who desecrate a human body, who desecrate someone, Gisèle, who is in profound distress because her life was at risk at every moment where she was drugged and abused.
Victims of sexual abuse can remain anonymous in France. So up until the trial in 2024, Gisèle Pelicot's name was not known. But then she made a bold decision to demand an open trial, allowing the public and the press into the courtroom.
How difficult was it to reveal your identity, to face the world?
It was very hard. I didn't want anybody to discover and know about this woman who had experienced all this violence. Because in truth, victims always feel shame about what happened to them. I told myself that if I opened the closed-door proceedings, the shame would change sides.
The words "shame has to change sides" are on the cover of her book, an intimate account of the ordeal.
We were very worried when we heard that she wanted to have an open trial.
Why worry?
Because we knew that there would be a tremendous pressure on her.
At trial, the accused hid their faces as they filed into court. They ranged in age from 26 to 74. Among them, a firefighter, a soldier, a nurse. In court, many claim Gisèle Pelicot must have known, must have been complicit. But Dominique Pelicot admitted everything, testifying it was always against her knowledge, adding he drugged her 2 to 3 times a week. I had an addiction, he said.
What were the warning signs looking back?
I only knew I had blackouts and I had health problems.
You were forgetting things. There were entire periods of days that you didn't remember.
I couldn't remember that I'd been to the hairdresser. It was only the next day that I realized I had. And when I called my children, it was the same. I didn't remember our conversations.
And you're thinking what?
I thought I was seriously ill. I consulted neurologists, I had a CT scan, nothing was found.
How do you sit and recount all of this with such poise and almost a softness but a distance?
I've always been this way. Anger and hatred build nothing, they destroy. And I didn't want to go down that path.
The trial made headlines worldwide and drew huge crowds of supporters who praised Gisèle Pelicot for her bravery, holding her up as a feminist hero.
What are you seeing, thinking, feeling going through that crowd of cameras?
You know that I wasn't alone. It was an incredible source of strength for me.
All of the 51 men on trial were convicted. Dominique Pelicot was sentenced to the maximum of 20 years.
Dominique asked you to forgive him. Do you forgive him?
No, forgiveness is extremely difficult, but I don't want to live in hatred. I do need to speak with him, and it will also be to say goodbye.
But you want to see him again?
Yes, I need answers. I may never get them, but that's also part of my journey.
During our interview, just off camera, was her new partner, Jean-Loup, who was also by her side during the trial, along with her children.
I was excited to get to the point in the book when you meet Jean-Loup, and I think finally something good is happening to this woman.
I never thought I'd fall in love or even want to. It's a beautiful story. As for the rest, it belongs to us, and I keep that to myself.
But you're in love.
Indeed, you can fall in love at any age. Everything is possible. That too is a message of hope, to tell yourself that nothing is lost in life.
I have all of these notes, as you can see in the book. On the very last page, I made a note for myself, which is somehow it's uplifting in the end.
Je me suis toujours posé la question de savoir quelle était ma mission sur cette terre, savoir pourquoi j'étais venue sur cette terre.
I was always wondering what my mission on earth was, why I had been born. Some are painters, some are poets, others are writers. I think my mission was to give others hope, that even after hardship, you can rise again and choose happiness. I think that was my mission.